in this video is a multifaceted topic, otherwise subject to speak on, to get away from the weirdos. Because those who do not want to get it right and want to stay that way, the best you can do is keep your distance from them on the perspective areas. However, you can establish that distance or otherwise boundaries, especially when there is a failure to communicate. And those of you who are spiritual, to pray for their condition, so if they can change, they can get out of that, as well as to, how people like to put it these days, turn the other leaf, to actually get out of that condition, to socialize, to choose the right decisions, behaviors, attitudes, as well as communication and mindsets, so they actually function with a sound mind, right speech instead of perversity, and the like. Because you have those and positions small, as well as those who raise themselves up to be something that they are not. For example, the obvious examples in the mini videos here is Charles Jr., as well as recently mentioned New Breed, who goes by that alias. They both apparently go by subject names of sorts, because they have to present themselves in such public images, just as celebrities have to come up with the special names to rename themselves, even giving themselves a second name and using that as a corporation, as a separate business entity, as an alias to make money off the industry. So those such as Charles Jr. and New Breed, who try to do the big stuff, especially in front of camera, just take heed that there are those who are part of the system, because Charles Jr. and New Breed are still part of the system, that will go out of their way to do quote-unquote charismatic things to appeal to the senses and entice people. And then you have the more obvious bigwigs, the so-called celebrities, who are in the other domains such as YouTube, social media, and the such. They have fancy and charismatic as well as catchy names. Now their names, some people need some serious receipts to find out if that's their birth name. Were they given a different name when they were born? Did they change their name? For what reason? Did their father or mother just, or whoever chose their name, gave them the wrong kind of name? Or was it a situation where for either good or for evil they changed their name? Because there are people who would try to change their name and put a long amount of paperwork behind their names just so they can conceal their identity, to hide behind aliases and use either a paper trail or try to cheat the system so they can go around in disguise. The reason why this has to be mentioned is because when you look at the behavior of people who make themselves great in front of the sight of men, such as Charles Dog Jr., New Breed, as well as other public images, quote unquote, you're going to see is that they live a double life. Obviously, they have to live a public image, and then when they're done being an actor in uniform, is what Charles Dog Jr. likes to quote and coin the term of. So when they like to be their little actors in uniform, then when they're off camera, they're a very different person or a different identity, character altogether. That was their public image. Now for the private life, they are someone else. And of course, we have to keep it concrete here to the spiritual sides, to keep it spot on so people know what's up. There are obvious positive areas and neutral areas where you got to do business, you got to make money, you got to take care of deals and satisfy contracts, business contracts that are legitimate and as such. So you have a business side of your life that you live and perform in. And then when you're off the task, not on duty, and not doing what you need to be doing currently because you've satisfied what needs to be done, or on break, whatever it may be, then you have the personal life. Now, depending on what they may be, this is where the distinction between the good and the evil is considered. Because you have those who, for example, they have high-paying tasks, occupations, positions, and then when they are off stage, off camera, off duty, then they have to continue life from there. And then you have people where, for example, as mentioned, celebrities, they have to live the character in some cases. Such as, for example, the man who played the main character from the movie The Shining, especially the Joker in the one of the latest Batman films some years ago. And then you have other people where they get too accustomed to that manner of life. And so when they go off shift, off duty and off task, wherever it may be, they can't seem to unplug from that. And then you have people who obviously have some intentions, and they use that public image to express or even hide who they really are because of their true intentions. That's right there. Those two things in particular are broad and well known in everyday society, of course. Those who have to hide the darkness, the evil, the humanity, the frailty, as well as the areas where they come short in that they can improve on, but they remain like that, especially for the wrong reasons. They don't want to fix it, nor do they want to seek a solution for it. So they gotta put their best foot forward in the public scene and hide their defects in the private, in the personal life. And then you have people where, as mentioned with the celebrities, they got something going on, a condition, whether it be something they grew up with, something that's affecting them, otherwise something they agreed to, consented with, even decided to operate as and become. And so when they act like that in public, then that's another way of them seeking to express that quote-unquote side of them. And then when you get to talk to them in person, now they want to act like a normal quote-unquote normal person. So why does that matter? Pertaining to Charles Dell Jr. and New Breed for the examples here. Let's include Jim Jones and R.G. Steer in this too, because why not? Those slick agents, it's pretty obvious after doing the research. Because with stage playing actors in uniform, such as those 4 people mentioned, those 4 individuals, they have to present to you a certain image, a certain person, a certain character, an identity, an expression. Then when you get to meet them in person, you find out the challenging and displeasing reality of the matter, of who they really are. All that charisma, all that's pretending and acting has been used to mask and hide the uncleanness in dead men's bones and all the matters of evil that's been hiding within. Now, if you're wondering, too, there are people out on the road as it is where, depending where they are in, they can get help and turn away from that. If they're stuck with that and they need that extra push, that extra help, then Jesus can set them free. Because there are people, even in the industry itself too, who made the deal. They thought they were going to get into something good, something that sounds so great and so worth it. And they find out that once they make that deal, oh, how miserable they are. There are some who can actually get free and get the help they need. And there's those who wanna get free, but the devil's got such a close grip on them that if they were to even squeeze an inch, the devil will try to move in on them. Even everything else controlling them, those entities, the demons. So when you have those such as Charles Dell Jr., New Breed, Jim Jones, R.G. Steer, and their followers, when they present to you a great sounding idea, a mindset, a way of seeing things, processing thought, as well as reacting to it, and they teach their followers, depending where you are, whether you be from the outside looking in, to seeing what is all that going on over there, or if you're involved in certain levels, it takes time, takes consideration, weighing it out, and putting it to inspection, depending where you are, whether you be someone who's just receiving that kind of information, or you're in the faith and you have to go to the Father and hear from Him to get the information from Him so that you can know for yourself what's going on, so that you can make the changes and adjustments from there. Either way, where you are at, when you find out these kind of people, these kind of individuals, you need to unplug from them. You need to separate association with them, because when they teach you to do certain things, they're really trying to convince you that is the right thing and everything else. And you start to find out on the long term, one way or another, that it's not adding up. It's not working out. It's not practical. Even those who are sold out to it, of course, the very close followers who go along with such individuals, either it be those mentioned in these four, or those who are like them, who do similar actions and behaviors, including teaching certain things. They have to do everything they can to try to keep their following for reasons, whatever gain they expect to get out of it. And so when they do those things, they expect to get you as far from reality and how things actually work, especially in the sight of the Father, of Yahweh Elohim. So when you start to get the revelation, the facts, the truth, that such individuals are trying to disconnect you from reality and put you in a land of make-believe, in a perceived world that does not exist, but is an illusion, you need to get away from them, because they will weird you out. And depending how much you've been involved in it, you still have to unlearn, get free of the indoctrination, and cleanse yourself from all that brainwashing and mind control too. Because they will have you convinced they are the quote-unquote model, the example. Whether it be trying to be another Jesus, trying to present themselves as a follower of Jesus, another Messiah, or even the pinnacle of success, or the pinnacle of this area or that area of expertise, skill, ability, performance, office, role, position, status, and the like. There's so many flavors of them out there too, and they all are not good for you. It's sweet like honey in your tongue, but when it hits your stomach, it hits the inward parts, it's sour and bitter, and it's painful. Because when you find out it was not good for you, it takes enough time to get it out of you. Depending how affected you have been of it, you can obviously walk away from it, give it some time, unlearn things, relearn things, learn what was right, what was wrong, get with a support group so they can help you to readjust where needed. That way you're not stuck. And there's those where, for example, as mentioned here, when you're around groups and you've been with them for a good amount of time, such as Jim Jones, Archie Steer, Charles L. Jr., New Breed, and other individuals who do such manners, there may be a challenge and a struggle to unlearn and to stop doing, as well as to stop talking, thinking, behaving, and perceiving things like them. Because it got too much position, too much position on your person, too much grounds on you. And that's where those who are part of a deliverance ministry and are a deliverance worker can be involved so that the help can be given so that you can be set free in the name of Jesus. And those who are wondering, there are deliverance ministries here and there in different parts of the world. You got to seek them out and search for them. Sometimes you got to use the internet. Sometimes you got to go in prayer and cry out, shout out, and even in some cases, continuously pray and ask the Father to show you someone, even send someone to get you connected to someone who's in a deliverance ministry or a deliverance worker, even to send help so that the Father can help you get out of that mess. Now, onto the second half of this, the second portion. To try to keep this brief enough, on a day-to-day life, this is where it fits not only in the private life with its many areas too there, but also in the public, especially in business. One lesson that is a piece of wisdom is that not only one witness and not only a second who's reinforced it, but also a third who should present himself so-called a credible source on certain points, but everywhere else when it comes to so on practical skills, everyday skills, they have mentioned certain points that is clear and can be almost seen as common sense. So there's areas where what happens in business stays in business. What happens in your personal life stays in your personal life. What happens in public stays in the public. Where you need to cross over and transition, and even when people, place, and things cross over and transition from the other areas into the other where you're operating in at the time, then that is where established boundaries help so they don't intrude, overlap, and the two things conflict with one another and get in the way. Because there are people who take certain things in one part of their life, they try to take it to somewhere else, and they try to force it, they try to push it in certain directions, especially onto you. And you know the precautions, if you are informed or well taught, even experienced at some points, that what can happen in the right and what can happen in the wrong, depending how it goes with that whole situation. For example, there are, of course, people who, as mentioned at the beginning of this video, those who can get help, those who can learn and grow, so that if they want to stop being like that or whatever they are being like, then they can change and you can move forward from there, so that wherever it falls at, if you can talk to them again, associate with them again, then both of you or them can communicate and just forgive one another and move forward. And there's the other area where if it cannot be reconciled, all you can do is just, and the least you can do in that matter is to put distance between you and them, whether it be in conversation, in physical space, or even in as far as distance too, on that level. Then from there, the least you can do is forgive them and move on. That way you don't take it personal and it doesn't affect you from there. And there's the other side too, where if it's been in there so deep, it may take time for it to loose off of you and you be free. In this other case too, where some people need to get help in that department. And that's where they can be set free in the name of Jesus. A good example of this is the way people are taught in different societies, whether it be Western society or Eastern culture, Eastern societies, and depending what nation and what manner they are of, how close they apply the scriptures to their lives, or the knowledge of it, including the wisdom of it, the culture and manners, and so forth from the scriptures. That is where you have to weigh in to find out how can you navigate when it comes to talking with people and dealing with them. Because some people, for example, they will use the public space in seeking either a friend, or some may be seeking a partner for potential marriage. And then you have those who are going to use the workplace, the work environment, to go find someone, to try to meet someone. And depending where it is, and how they are functioning and behaving, there's a possibility of a breakdown in communication. Because if the person doesn't want to communicate and listen, communicates and listen to find out where you're coming from, what your thought and your intent, and what you're about, and the such that is needed. Then they can find out from there if it's worth even going there to that certain direction or whatnot, or just respectfully communicate, let them know where you're at, where you stand on that matter, and let them know that whether it be for these reasons you would consider it, or for certain reasons you have to refrain from that. That way, if it's going to happen around your workplace, the public area of your life, or the personal areas of your life, it respectfully gets addressed right then and there. And the reason to mention Western and Eastern culture here is because in different parts and regions where you live, and how people perceive you, how they receive you and communicate with you. As the beginning of this video was mentioned, there are people who are going to be weirdos and they don't want to change. The least you can do is just get away from them and don't get wrapped up into it. Because even these days now, you have ladies, women, ma'ams, madams, and the such, adult women, adult females, immature women, and just females of different areas in life, different areas of where they're gonna get it wrong at some points. And some may not even intend to be like that. That can even be how they're raised, how they're conditioned and taught, especially who they associate and learn such things from. Because here's a major thing. When you are taught right, you are mannered, and you are informed, as well as trained and disciplined in different areas of communication, social skills, socializing with others, and how to navigate different areas of life, then when you're well equipped in different points, then you're going to know how to go talk to that individual, or that individual is trying to talk to you, to communicate to them properly so that they know where you're coming from. You make your communication clear, and you're not trying to make it ambiguous, vague, nor filled with mystery to where they have to guess and try to figure you out, to try to so-called drop all these hints to try to make them figure out from there. Because when there's a lack of the proper levels of communication, even if you're just going down the middle and just speaking plainly to them and making an effort to properly communicate is important, because when there's a breakdown there, such as people giving you signals, gestures, body language, especially when you're in the public, even in the workplace, where there's, things that can overlap and go wrong if you don't have a proper communication, and if communication breaks down from there, or if you're informed on that kind of stuff, and you both figure out from there and actually communicate instead of one or the other being weird. That's when it can be figured out from there on that point, because in general, people are not supposed to be behaving like animals. Through these different generations, you have heard of what? Sayings, metaphors, the wisdom of this person, this sage's teaching, this philosophy, this mindset, behavior, all these different forms of expression and communication where they try to make people and encourage them and teach them to act like animals, to the point to where the other person just doesn't get it because you're just being on that kind of level, and they're trying to either speak to you plainly or they're being very specific and structured when they talk to you. And if you want to act like an animal, as mentioned, the best thing that the person trying to talk to you can do is just get away from you and put space from you. And it's surprising these days because plenty of people would talk about where back in the days, people did not need to talk like this, nor act like that at all, period. However, because of the the things that have gone into a person's upbringing, as well as their choices, one of two things can happen. They can unlearn those things and get the help they need in the specific areas so that they can be properly socialized. And if they can, possibly amend their ways to correct their behavior as well as their speech and actions. And not forgetting, if possible, fix those damaged relationships they made. Get it right with the people they have wronged or caused to go to a wrong direction, even to stumble, and they get into trouble because of the choices made to not only take accountability, but to be responsible. Only so many people will teach that here and there these days, is to be accountable of your actions, what you say and do, to take ownership in the necessary areas, and to make the right choices from there. So, when, as a major example here, I'm going to go switch to another one here in the moment here. We have a female who's been a weirdo, a woman who's just been a weirdo, whether it be in public, in person, in worst case scenario, in matters of business, on the workplace. They want to be weird like that, and they don't want to get it right. They want to put that situation in front of you, and they don't want to communicate, act properly, and talk. Get away from that weirdo and put space between you and them. And there's ladies out there too. There's women who run into guys out there, whether it be males, guys, or men, who they may not even be perfect in certain areas, even lacking. And as mentioned with the women and the ladies and the females, they may have things involved as well too in their upbringing, to not only their past but their choices that they made and what's been given to them to act the way they do. And also it's for them too, the men, the guys, and the males, to make the choice if they're gonna stop doing what they're doing, get the help they need to unlearn the things that they were doing and have been doing, to learn the proper things, to get it right. And if they even slipped up too, to get back on their feet and no longer be like that, to push forward. Because even with that too, troubles happen with that, because communication. People gotta communicate. They just can't be dropping signals all day long. Sign language, body language, and whatnot. Because there's people out there where they, even guys too, who will be quote unquote tricking, trying to be slick. Hey, there's some ladies and women who want to keep it 100, and there's some guys out there too who want to keep it 100 too as well. They're going to see certain ladies, women, and females where they're not carrying themselves properly, and people are going to point it out and say, hey, on these certain areas, whether it be in business, public, or personal life, especially in these points and areas, they're doing these things. If they don't want to get it right, and they've been addressed if need be, that's important. If they've been addressed, communicated with, to let them know that they're doing or saying things that's not right, so that they can make the choice from there to amend their ways and turn from it. If they're struggling, then they get the help from there. That way, people know what they need to do concerning whether they need to avoid her who's being weird, especially in certain areas in specific. And if they need help, can get the help they need, or making changes too. That way they're not entirely thrown away and ostracized completely. And if they want to be evil and they want to stick in their evil ways, then people are informed. That way they don't get ensnared in that evil. And there's the same areas there too with the men, the guys, and the males, where they're doing things and saying things that's in the wrong. And so people have to communicate to them to let them know, hey, what you're doing here or saying here is not right. And if possible, introduce the solution to whoever you're addressing. Even practical tips if you're lacking in those areas of helping them. And if possible, recommend to them, even direct them to the proper people, places, or things that they can reach out to get the support and help over there they need. and if possible, find a deliverance ministry, and if at least a deliverance worker who they can reach out to and get connected with, so that they can be set free in the name of Jesus. Because when you leave out that door in your day-to-day life, when you're conditioned and you're aware, you don't have too much things to put you in care and worry and concern, especially when you're going to go do business, public matters, and whatnot, and you intend to do the right thing too, and you have a relationship with the Father. You read His Word, apply His Word, and function by His Word. Then you have a great buffer, a great protection, a hedge of protection, a barrier from many evils that people are concerned about in this world. And one of the best solutions to the evil in this world is to not only learn for yourself and apply it. That way you could be speaking, thinking, and doing what is right. But also, we're needed to express it in the proper areas, in the proper role, so people can be inspired and take away any potential evil in the world, to be part of a positive move forward, to be an example of the change for good, so that people can consider and amend their ways too. Because there's people out here as it is, individuals in this world as we speak, or otherwise in hearing, where they have the potential to get it right in different areas. And there are those who are serious and want to dedicate their lives, so they get water baptized and seek the baptism of the Ruach HaKodesh, the authentic Holy Spirit, so they can get their lives to the Father, and the Father carry them through this life, and they be faithful so that they may be pleased and satisfied when they stand at the judgment, and have rest from their labor and all the things they have endured, overcame, and been through. To know the victory and the success, as well as the reward waiting on the other side, so that being faithful, they may be counted worthy to enter into His rest. Because there's plenty of people out here as it is, individuals, either they don't get it or they're lost. Even those who need light, so they can get a clue. There's plenty of people out there in this world as it is, individuals who are just at each other's throats, just looking for the opportunity to do evil to one another. If they were to relent from their evil, they would become a prey, a victim of that other individual. So there are people who are still genuine out there, who are sincere, and there's plenty of people where they either don't get it or they're lost. And they need to see the Father's light to know of His truth. So that they can be found and reconciled, to be restored. Even in the workplace too, people have made videos and communicated about such matters. There are guys and there are gals out there, even in the workplace, where not only towards the other gender, they do evil towards them because of their evils they do in their forms of communication, whether it be in dropping hints, body language and gestures and such. But also, there are those where they're next level weird, where they want to be evil and toy around with the words to either say things or make you say things so they can catch you even in that too. There are people who are evil like that, who just want to be weirdos to the next level, and you gotta get away from them. They don't want to get it right, then just keep a distance from them and put those barriers where it's needed. That way you're in the clear and you can recover from whatever was done to you by them and move forward and forgive them. That way you're in the clear and it doesn't weigh on you nor trouble you from there. And in certain cases, as it is, depending on the amount of duration and the amount of severity of it too, you may need to get help in the prospective areas and be set free in the mighty name of Jesus. Then you have people even of the same gender where things happen in there too, where they're going to be weirdos as well too. Such as people, the alternative lifestyle, that's a giveaway. And then you have those who are going to be in competition with you, where they have all these evil teachings, all these mindsets that are like where they try to tell people to be like animals of different sorts. And so they become weirdos in that kind of way too. So what they'll do is they'll move in craftiness, in different shapes of fashion, and try to be cunning, slick, and smooth about it. To try to take you out of commission, to try to get rid of you. Especially in the areas of the public, as well as in private life. Even in those, they come from those directions, or they try to cross over into those other areas to loop over into them and intersect. As is, they want to be weird. If possible, communicate to them, let them know what they're doing is wrong, and offer possible sources of help they can get if they want to receive it, if they want to consider too. and put the space between you and them where it's needed. That boundary, the needed barrier. Then you have the other areas too where, especially in friendships too, there are people in friendships as well as in the public area too. So you have friends who are in the public where you associate with them, you're close with them, you share some matters with them outside of your doorstep and the such. So they're on a level above associates. We actually go and have dealings with them in public space and so forth. Even with that, when they want to do some things that are wrong and say some things that are wrong, either get you involved with it or towards you, then like manner communicates where it's needed. That way you don't have a breakdown of communication, and whether it be, again, body language, gestures, and the like. To affect you, doesn't get too much of an influence onto you. That way it does not make you bitter, resentful, hurt, troubled, disturbed, influence in any kind of capacity that may reach you and try to have a place in you. Because there are friends out there who are like that too, where they started off as a friend, or they, like some weirdos out there, they want to become your friend so they can infiltrate certain areas of you and go to work on you. And so letting them know, that way they can make the choice from there if they want to get help and change, or if you need to set your boundaries with them from there too. And especially in a private area too, there are people where, whether it be one's own household, or even you have them around in your personal space and your private life, you communicate with them so that if it's not needed to be talking about certain things or doing certain things, they know. And if they want to go that direction, then communicates, let them know, give them any resources that they may need, so they are stuck and are being a weirdo in different capacities, in different ways. Then they can make the choice from there too if they want to change their ways and get help if they need it. That way, dropping hints, body language, and gestures doesn't create a breakdown and miscommunication either, but that they are informed, so if they want to change, then good, you can move forward from there. That way you can put the trouble and make amends even where needed to forgive and move forward. And possible if it has to be done that way too, to amend, make restitution and whatnot. And if they don't want to get it right, they want to go that direction, then put that barrier between you and them. That way, whatever area you're dealing with people, small or great, if they want to be weirdos, get away from them. That way you're clear.